So good evening, everyone. Welcome. Just to let you know that this event is being recorded and will be shared later. So I hope you're all okay with that. Just at the bottom of the screen, a bit of housekeeping, you're going to see that you have a Q&A function. So if you have any questions for us, for anyone, please do type there and we'll work through those. So welcome to this. So we're at Barts London Medical School, which is Queen Mary University of London. So at Queen Mary is one of the most diverse universities in the country for sure. And social justice and academic excellence are very much at our core. It also is diversity of people, but diversity of thought in everything that we do. And we have got quite a number of online distance learning masters, which orthopedic trauma science is one. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome everyone. So this is the Masters in Orthopedic Trauma. It started in 2014. So I think this is going to be our sixth intake. It's managed by Pete Bates and myself, and we have an awesome team that help us. So that young looking chap top left is me, not taken that long ago, but slightly prior to my lockdown haircut. Pete Bates has aged by at least 15 years since that photo was taken.
100 years.
Yeah. And then just with regards to the team, this is walking through. So Jack Rappaport is our teaching fellow, and Jack's very much helps manage the student experience, any questions or issues they may have. Chris Gunton here is our program coordinator and administrator, and she's amazing. Elaine Cole, Dr. Elaine Cole runs the dissertation and the research methods module. This is Professor Susan Brundage, who is a trauma surgeon, who also helps with the program. She and Professor Brohi down here are trauma surgeons who run the sister program to us, the MSc Trauma Science. But we do have some overlap for the one or two modules, and so you'll get to know those as well, those two as well. So the aim very much of this program is it's all about KSA, knowledge, skills, and attitude, for high quality. We say medical care, but it's really high quality orthopedic care with a medical approach. We want to make sure that basically you can deliver a key set of orthopedic trauma management, particularly in the management of severely injured patients. And this is very much to help you guys meet your local needs, your regional needs, and your national needs when it comes to managing orthopedic trauma. The other thing that we want to do is we really want to set you up and help you become the future leaders of orthopedic trauma care all around the world. And we also want to give you the research skills through independent study. So and we will come back to that in a second. And the program is accredited by the Royal College of Surgeons, which proves it's not just us making up as we go along. So the structure is that it consists of 8 modules. There is a 2-week summer school, which is optional, that we'll come back to. And in the second year, there is a 3,500 word dissertation. So we have these modules that run in the first year. And as you can see there, we get a really holistic and all-encompassing approach to the disease of trauma, which is the biggest killer in the world. And then we have, apologies, I spelled hemorrhage wrong. That's Pete's going to beat me. Hemorrhage in response to injury. I'm actually quite traumatized by that. We then talk about trauma to the pelvis and torso. So we will talk a little about abdominal injuries, chest injuries, thoracotomies, laparotomies. So the bulk of that is talking about the pelvis, managing pelvic fractures in the ED, in the interventional radiology suite, managing them in theatre, and very much, and then what do you do about the surgical approach? We have a whole module on spine, spinal cord, and nerve injuries, which covers brachial plexus as well, and everything from the central cord all the way out. Number 5 is a really fun module. We share that with the trauma science, and they come and join us for a month. And we basically talk about everything from bone biology and fracture healing, which honestly is not as dull as it sounds. It's actually quite fun. And we talk about all limb trauma. So we talk about here to fingertips, and then from the femoral head all the way down to the tip of the toe. Module 6 is about pediatric trauma, and then managing the sequelae of pediatric trauma, which is you can end up with deformities, leg discrepancies, and it's all about limb reconstruction. And so that nicely segues into frames, external fixators, and managing deformity. And then we have a whole module on open fractures and orthoplastic surgical care, where we take you all the way from a tiny little wound that you just need a stitch in it, down up to stuff needing free flaps. And how do we coordinate management with these open fractures? How do we work with our orthoplastics colleagues? What do we need to know? And so that's a really good module. And then we have a module on research methods as well, and, which is module 8, which is at the beginning of the second year. And then we have the dissertation. So with regards to the teaching, we have this interface called QM+, and all the lectures and things are delivered through here. You can see here there's course announcements, list about tutorials and various bits and bobs. And then if you would click on one of these and go in, this is the introduction to the module on trauma to the pelvis and torso. And you see that we have all the learning outcomes there. And it really, I'm pretty confident at the end of this, you will know as much or more than any orthopedic registrar out there when it comes to managing this trauma. And you can see this one here actually is a 2-hour, 50-minute MCQ quiz. And so we have different ways of assessment. We have videos. That's a slightly unfortunate picture of Pete. I meant to change that. Sorry. And that is, but you know, you click the video, and the beauty of this is it's time and location dependent. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, when you are in the world, you click and you can watch the lectures at any point. And they're really high quality content. So this is talking about clotting and the management of trauma acutely. And then we do these weekly tutorials where you get to interact with us, and it is very much us asking questions, us going through clinical cases, and it is where we really get to know you guys, and we really have a good back and forth, and they're really good fun. We can be ourselves a little bit more in these, and we can be slightly less reserved. And then summer school is probably the highlight of the year for me. In summer school, we have a whole bunch of activities. You can see this is literally, I think, 2 and a bit days of 2 weeks of summer school. And we have everything from interactive sawbones workshops. We have a 2-day cadaveric workshop at the Smith and Nephew lab, which is really state of the art. You get to do stuff that the consultants get to operate with. You get to see all the equipment. You get x-ray there. You have support. You have 1 to 2 faculty on each table. There's only 2 of you on each table, 1 faculty member. And the facilities are amazing. And even better, the lunch is top class. And then we have some whole bunch of introductory stuff here. This is us in our simulated operating theatre. This is us doing a debrief there. This was really good fun. This is Pete talking about fasciotomies and all the lines and where you go and why. And then we have lots of lectures. We get a great international faculty from summer school, where people from Stanford, from AO, from the WHO. And it's a real opportunity to get to meet everyone who you've only seen online in your tutorials, and for you guys to really interact, get to know each other and get to know us. And it's nice for us to be able to put a face to the names and all the people that we worked with over the previous year. I'm almost done. With regards to the assessments, there's a combination of written assignments. There's a presentation module where you do a presentation to us, a PowerPoint, and we judge that. And there is online MCQs. So the way the MSc is marked is 2/3 are the modules that we discussed, and 1/3 is the dissertation. And we've decided to settle on a 3,500 word dissertation. And the reason for that is that it used to be a 10,000 word dissertation, and people struggle to really condense that down and get it to a level where you could then publish that in a journal. So 3,500 words is about a sweet spot where we find it's quite easy for people to convert that to publication. And with the publication comes presentations and all sorts of riches and joys. So that's us. Does anyone have any questions with regards to anything I've mentioned so far? What will happen is we're also going to have one of our alumni, Vish Shetty, is going to talk in a second. But if anyone has any questions, you've got the Q&A box down there. Please feel free. I'm feeling slightly lonely. No one said anything. Even a hello. Just let me know that you're there.
Hi, Cash.
Yeah, not you. Anyone else. But if you guys have any questions about the program, any of the modules. So listen, any questions come up, please do ask. We're very much, the whole program aim is for it to be interactive and for us to have a back and forth. And that's how much we run the program. So I'm now going to introduce my Vish Shetty, I'm not quite sure what I was about to say, my colleague, Vish Shetty. So Vish did the Masters with us a few years ago, and he's probably 2-3 years removed from it now. So Vish is going to talk to his experience. I promise you I've not paid him and I've not threatened him. He's here of his own accord, and he's going to talk to us and tell us what he found of the program, what it's like working alongside studying. So Vish, over to you.
Hey everyone, so my name is Vish. I'm currently an orthopedic registrar on the Royal London rotation. That's where Cash and Pete work at the Royal London Hospital. A little background, so I grew up in India, in Bombay. I did my medical school there, and then I came to the UK and I got onto the rotation. And I think this master's is a very key part of that journey. And So the things that I want to talk to you about, which I think will help convince you to join this, you get an insane amount of knowledge in the 2 years that you're with us. The knowledge is something that I still look back to from time to time. I still couldn't process all of it in the 2 years, and it'll keep coming in handy as you go up through your career. And I think the key difference between this master's and other masters is that this is taught to you by the experts in the field, sometimes the very people who develop these principles. And also most of them, or almost all of them, are practicing clinicians. So when you ask them questions, they can give you real world answers as opposed to something you find in a textbook or conference. They give you real answers to real problems that you might face. The other thing is the research skills that you get, as Cash has already mentioned. There's an essay or some kind of assessment after every module. And I think that those essays are very key in consolidating your knowledge about each module. So it forces you to read about it, forces you to do a literature review, analyze the data, and then you submit your essay and you feel that you've actually gained something rather than just watching lectures or attending tutorials. And the dissertation, I think the 3,500 word dissertation works really well because I could publish it straight away. I didn't have to edit it at all. It was ready for publication as soon as I wrote it down, which is, I think a lot of master's degrees, sometimes you miss out on publishing your dissertation because it's too large and you never end up getting it down to a publication size. And also helps you improve your paper writing skills and your referencing skills, etc. Cash already mentioned the summer school. I think this alone is worth the whole 2-year master's. It's the best experience that I've had in a long time. I think it's 2 weeks you spend with your fellow students across the world. These are people from all walks of life, all stages of their training. You get nurses, you get scrub teams, you get surgeons, and we all work together. We have small group workshops, we have the cadaveric labs, we have group assignments. It's a lot of socializing. It's very tiring at the end of the 2 weeks. I needed a few days after that to relax, but it's really, really good fun. I think that's you. If you get on this master's, please make it a point to come to summer school. It really is worth it. One of the things that made me choose this master's, I think, is the fact that it's part-time and you can work and study at the same time, because I think taking time out to study in a surgical career is quite taxing because we have long careers, and also it's financially quite draining because you can't work for that year. But I think this part where you can work as well really helps you so that you can continue your life. You don't have to take a break. You can study. And I think the best part is what you learn in your master's, you can apply in your work almost immediately. And it's not something you hold on to for a year or so and then come back into work. So I think, and that really helps the way you mature as a clinician, that you can apply straight away. This master's has definitely made a big impact in my life afterwards. I managed to get on the training rotation. I managed to choose my specialty as trauma. It improved my research skills, improved my portfolio with a publication, a presentation. So all of that really helps add on to your overall career. And I think the last thing is, as you've already guessed, listening to Cash and Pete talk, I think they've really made sure that the whole master's is a fun experience. They managed to make it educative and entertaining, which is quite a hard thing to do in higher education. And the entire faculty follows the same thing. They make everything interesting. They keep it fun because it's a long time. 2 years is a long time, but it goes very quickly. The tutorials, the lectures are all they keep it fresh. They keep it up to date. They keep it fun. And I think you'll miss it once you finish. You will miss it. You miss the whole experience. But yeah, you've got my vote. Definitely do it.
Vish, you've made it on my. You brought a tear to my eye. That was lovely to hear. Thanks, man. I didn't know any of that, so it's good to hear. I couldn't script it better, and I did not script it before anyone.
Is it my turn now to ruin it?
You don't speak yet. Guys, bring the questions in. So we've got a question. I'm a physiotherapist. The content of the course is exciting. Is it a physiotherapist? So that's a good question. So we've had a physiotherapist complete the program. We had a physiotherapist from Australia. We had a physiotherapist from Malta. And we've also had, we currently have a physiotherapist doing it now who works in Leeds. So absolutely there's open to physiotherapists. I fully understand that it has a surgical bent to it, but it is open to surgeons in training. It is open to physiotherapists. It is open to scrub practitioners and also orthopedic trauma nurses. And all those people have done the program and have done actually remarkably well. So and they've all come through the program and there's been no issues. I forgot to state the entry criteria, but essentially the entry criteria that you need to have a higher degree from one of the university acknowledged universities. and that you need to have a sufficient English language test score if you've studied somewhere else. Chris actually can speak to that probably better than anyone with regards to, so there, Chris just shared a link, thank you. So, and on that page there, you'll see what the entry criteria are. But this program is not aimed purely at orthopedic surgeons. We are open, it's great fun. And some of the physios have really benefited the most, and also they've opened our eyes to certain things as well. So thank you for your question. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Does anyone else have any questions? If you please ask now. If Vish is about to go, so if you have any questions, here we go. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. What format does this session usually take? So that's interesting. We had ironically, I couldn't be any more primed. We had our second year introduction dissertation webinar yesterday. It classically, so the way it works is in the research methods module for 4 weeks, we talk about all the different types of studies, from randomized controlled trials, systematic reviews, meta-analyses, literature reviews, narrative reviews. And the fact is that the vast majority of people choose to do a systematic review because of the time that you have. You have a year to do it. So some people will start early or will have access to a database and will decide to do a retrospective review. There isn't realistically time for you to do that and work and do the masters and do a randomized controlled trial. Some people have tried it, but the systematic review is the most common, I'd say, for probably 3/4 of people. And systematic reviews, the other beauty of the systematic review is that actually it makes it your, it's the highest level of evidence. And so you've got a really high chance of getting a podium presentation. So that's great.
I'd vouch for that. Yeah, systematic review, I got it published, got it presented. That's the...
Great. See, there we go. Proof in the pudding. Vish, why don't you answer this one? Why? Firstly, a fan of the podcast. Awesome. Thank you. It got better since Bates stopped doing it, didn't it? No, Pete's back. Look, it was a temporary, we haven't fallen out. Pete's back from next week onwards, and we're back to misbehaving. But here we're in the tutorials, we can misbehave a little bit, but here we're on our best behavior. Vish, do you want to answer this next question?
Yeah, so I was a core surgical trainee as well when I did the course. I think that's a great time to do it because you've already declared your interest I had already declared my interest in orthopedics. It really helped me prepare for higher training in orthopedics. And I don't think you're too young at all. I think that's a great time to do the core surgical training.
In terms of clinical experience, what we ask for is 1 year of post-qualification experience. So FY2 onwards is what we ask for. And it is interesting. So I would say that the tutorials and the content really helps people at national selection. Would you say, Vish?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because you have the clinical anatomy and clinical knowledge stations. And certainly everything we do is geared, it really helps with that. But we've had ST3s, 4s, 5s, 6s do it. We've got ST3, 5 and 6 at the moment. We've had ST8s do it. We've had someone who's on fellowship do it, and they got their consultant job straight after. We've had all sorts of people doing it, and actually there's been no difference. And honestly, has the ST8 been significantly better than a core trainer or physio? Not really. Because
I think in my cohort, I remember I had an F2. I had an accomplished trauma surgeon. I think she was 10 years into being a trauma surgeon, and she still came and did the course. You have research nurses, you have physiotherapists, you have scrub teams, you have all sorts of people at all sorts of ages who do it.
Awesome. And the one question is the program open for foreign students as well? So the one thing perhaps I haven't emphasized enough is that this is truly a global program. It's delivered online, so it doesn't matter where you are, what time of day and night it is, you can watch the videos. Even the tutorials, if you can't make them, we record them and they're available the next day in their entirety. And I would say that on average, more than 50% of our students are overseas. So we've had students we get a lot of Maltese students. We love the Maltesers. We get Malta, Gibraltar, Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Singapore, Malawi, Ghana,
Egyptian.
What did you say, Pete? What did you say?
Sorry, Ghana.
What did you say? Ghana. That's took the words right out of my mouth. Ghana, Egypt, and also Chelmsford. So, all the exotic places, they come and join us. How much overlap was with the normal trauma science? So there are 2 modules. The first 2 modules on trauma, the disease, which is all about network trauma systems and trauma networks. And the second module, which is about trauma hemorrhage. It's only fair that we make the orthopedic surgeons learn the clotting cascade again. We talk about ROTEM and TEG and all these things. So the first two modules are shared with them. They come and join us for 3 weeks of the extremity trauma module. They come and join us. And the research methods is shared. And then there are 4 modules that are completely independent, and all the tutorials are done separately. And honestly, if no one's listening, we're much more fun than they are.
That's true. When they leave our modules, they be like, "Oh, we have to go back to our course now."
Yeah, we'll edit that bit out later in case.
Yeah, that's right. Chris not loving that bit.
No. So, guys, I'm really grateful for the questions. Are there any other questions before we move on? I'm going to let Vish go if no one else has any more questions. And then what we're going to do is Pete's just going to, do you get your own research project? Do you get a signed project? So we encourage you. So over the course of the year, you will see so many lectures, so many topics are discussed in tutorials, and you do your own reading for each paper, such that you will find a topic of interest that really appeals to you. You'll also be given a tutor and a supervisor, and that supervisor may choose to suggest some things for you if you're struggling, but most people will go and find their own project, and then they'll be supported through that. And that's what we really want. We want you guys to be independent researchers, but of course there are topics available if you would like. Vish, how did you choose yours?
Mine was part of the one I did for my presentation module. I really liked the subject. It was about Sufis in kids. So I discussed with my tutor, and he suggested developing that into a full dissertation.
Perfect. And clearly it did the trick, right? You got it published and presented. So living the dream. And now you've got a plant on the shelf behind you. So what more do you need in life?
2 of them.
Yeah. I mean, as compared to Pete Bates's bookshelf, which is just...
It's all kids' books. It's all like, Percy the Giant and like,
It screams emotional trauma. Yeah. Listen, so thanks, Vish. I'm going to hand over to Pete now. So Pete's just going to do a quick run through. I'll give you an idea, a very abridged version of one of our tutorials. Our tutorials are, so the podcast, now that a couple have mentioned it, is basically, it was the tutorials that gave me the idea for the podcast. And the podcast is basically a slightly classier and more refined